Thanks for tuning in to the Unaffiliated Creators Podcast. I'm your host, kaeveryday. It's been too long, but I got my co-host back with me.
Yo.
Y'all hear him? That's P Fever over there.
Yes, sir.
Making all that noise.
Yes, sir.
We back. I know it's been a long time, man. This man been out here trying to save the world one day at a time, man. But hey, look, I gotta say, I know we late to the party, and I know the things that we're gonna talk about today have already happened, but I just felt the need to get my co-host's opinion on these topics. So again, I apologize to the fans that I know these topics, these things have already happened, but it don't even matter because I want this man to share his opinion on these topics. So,
no doubt.
So the first one I wanted to kind of throw at you today was, how did you feel about the Tory Lanez situation?
Wow. So you ain't waste no time.
I figure let's just get right to it, man. I mean, hey, man, let's.
I think it's an unfortunate situation. No person should be hurt. Let me first disclaim that I am not advocating for any kind of violence towards women, but I do think that there was something else in the undertone. And we can get into that, but first and foremost, whether he did it or not, I'm not here to defend or in any shape, form. But what is unfortunate is that we had a rising star get taken away, put in a cage. But his contribution will be lost, whether he did it or not. But there is some things that he did do that probably had the industry a little shook up as far as going into Web3, kind of controlling his own destiny. He definitely had a few interviews where he signaled that there was a potential shift in the industry and that he was going to lead that part of the ones that led into that new horizon, that new era. But that message didn't get out. It was kind of clipped short. I followed him as far as some of the creative things he was doing. And from the music side, from the creative side, I would have to say him and his team were way ahead of their time.
So P was just being nice and, he was just kind of, talking about it with a broad brush, but I'm going to dive into it just a little bit more so, I can, we can explain exactly what he was just talking about. So there was one thing that Tory Lanez did where he basically was giving independent artists the game. Like he was basically saying, look, there's ways that you can make money where you don't even really need the record labels. Just follow my lead. And he was doing things like, look, I'm going to drop an NFT on this date. And he just put out a limited supply. And as soon as he dropped it, within a matter of like a minute?
Yep.
He made like $1 million in a minute. And that was just to show the power of Web3 and to show the power of, you don't need, hundreds of millions of people following you on social media and all this stuff. You only need a handful of people that's willing to rock with you. And he showed that, in a matter of minutes, you can make $1 million. I mean, it's a lot of artists that's probably signed to major record labels ain't making that kind of money.
So something very interesting that came across this week when they were breaking down how much Rihanna had made over her 15-year career. And we're only talking about streams. That she only made over 15 years of streaming. She only made $3 million. Now, of course, Rihanna's a billionaire, so she has other endeavors. But from streaming alone, she only made $3 million. And if you break that down over 15 years, that's literally 200,000 a year on streams. So Tory Lanez made $1 million in a minute, and she made $3 million over 15 years. You do the math.
Yeah, and not to discourage any of y'all independent music artists out there, but let's think about it. So think about what this man just said. We're talking about Rihanna, one of the biggest music artists in the world, and she made that amount So just imagine if you little Johnny in the basement, you banging out beats, or you little Johnny, you know, the independent guy around the corner, you're nowhere near her level. So if it took her that many years to make that kind of money, look at the kind of money that you think you gonna make in that amount of time, and you're not nowhere near at the level that she is. So,
and she did crossover. She did EDM, pop, all of that. She didn't stay in just R&B and hip hop. She was a broad spectrum of artistry, and only still came out $3 million over 15 years. So from that standpoint, you know, you got to look at other revenue streams. And I'm going to be honest with you, does it really make sense in 2023 to put your music on DSPs? I'm starting to see that maybe we kind of got it wrong. Maybe if we direct that audience to our Web3 space and only offer that on Web3, maybe we could lead a revolution to where the DSPs would have to either pony up or get out the way.
yeah, that make a lot of sense. And I done seen some other artists doing something similar to that, but they kind of been going back to the essence. They've been going back kind of to the old school way, how we used to think of music. Instead of putting their music on the streaming services, they basically using social media to promote the whole album. But what they doing is they telling their fans, hey, the album will be available on this date. And if you buy it, they basically doing things like autographing a hard copy of the album or CD or whatever you want to call it, vinyl, whatever. And they're actually mailing it themselves to the people who buy it. So they're getting the total cost of that product, not having to split it with all of the streaming services.
I mean, the streaming service never was set up to benefit the artist. It was always to benefit that entity. So for us, it was going to be a lose-lose situation from the jump street. So what do? You do what I saw Tory Lanez do was, and without getting too deep into the sauce, you kind of saw him less. The post on IG was less. It was only pictures at one point. And then in order to know what exactly was going on, you had to go to the Twitch channel, right? And the Twitch channel, you could see him record live, the process, the behind the scenes, and then the final product would come out and then set the stage for the Web3 products and the things that he was offering on the blockchain.
Yeah, I think he started going that route because at the time, and I think they still probably ain't paying that much, Instagram wasn't paying creators and people to put content on their platform. So he was like, why am I going to keep feeding Instagram with all of this content that they able to use and make money off of, but I'm not making no money off of it. So he went over to Twitch, and that's where he was putting 95% of his stuff, and he was getting paid from Twitch to stream videos.
Which made more sense, which the label couldn't interfere with that. And then there was a point that once he got out of his Interscope deal, he was independent. So that kind of spawned that era. You know, I noticed that he hired a creative director, right? So he really got in tune with the actual content production, and they really had a strategy, right? So taking notes, understanding that, how do you build that audience on Web3, keep them engaged on Twitch or somewhere where when you stream, you get paid, and then deploy the end product and then revenue share that. He made $1 million in a minute, but those who bought the actual NFT get to resell it and make money with it. That's genius.
Yeah, from what I could see, he was a self-contained unit. I mean, he had people that were shooting his videos, everything that he was doing as far as his content, the creative direction, the music videos, the beats, and everything was like his own team of people. He didn't let nobody infiltrate his camp.
No, absolutely not. So, you know, let that be a blueprint. And we go back to now you don't get to see the rest of that progression because he's sitting behind a cage. Whether he did it or not, you got to look at the other things that he's done outside of that incident, whether he did it or not. But he was definitely someone that posed a threat. If too much of that message got out, that could make the industry unstable. Because at one point, just like when you went the SoundCloud revolution, when these younger artists, when the Travis Scotts of the world came about that were independent, you could go put your music on SoundCloud, and then next thing you know, you got a following, and then you can go do shows. And some of those artists from that era, they would just go do their shows, and why even bother with the label? Now, with the labels only giving, what, $10,000, $20,000 up front? I mean, some of these people, that's play money to them. Especially if you're doing shows, what's 20,000? If I just did 3 shows this month and I made 15, 20,000 a show, I made 60 grand that month. You showing me 20 grand ain't doing nothing for me. And your play is for equity and ownership that you're going to take away from me. And you didn't put in the work with me. And I think a lot of artists are starting to see that. But we also are seeing that the industry is not allowing you to get to a certain number. They creeping in real early. You start topping out 5,000, 10,000 followers on any given platform. Hey, what you doing? Hey, this is what we got. This is what we can potentially offer you. So they're kind of intercepting artists before they can get to that stage where there's more leverage.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So how did you feel about the Keke Palmer Usher situation? That's a lot to unpack. I know you probably like, where do I start? So let me preface this by saying there's a couple of different things, but we can talk about it all. So at the beginning there was the whole, she went to the concert wearing what she was wearing, and then her baby daddy or boyfriend at the time, I guess he was in his feelings, and he went on social media and he basically posted, I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said that, a mother shouldn't be going out in public dressed like that. So that was the whole thing.
So let's unwind this, right? And I don't like to get in other people's business, but if you look at the history,
I mean, they put it out there though.
But if you look at her wardrobe history, that is what she wore to that concert is nothing new. She had been wearing see-through garments where you could see her chest. She's always worn those revealing kind of garments. So he knew what he was signing up for. And, at the same time, she had more to lose than he. She was the breadwinner in that situation. He didn't have the kind of money that she had. So he already knew the position that he was in. So whether she wore it or didn't wear it, coming back on social media and telling her, trying to put her in her place, you was out of pocket because you in her crib.
Hey, look, she was like, sit down and shut up. That's basically what she was saying. And look, you need to stay home, take care of the baby, sit down and shut up.
No, but let's get even deeper. Not only did she tell him sit down, she went and did the whole video with Usher and then punked him at the end as if to say, gone somewhere.
Did you see the video?
I saw the video.
What do you think about it?
I'm kind of laughing more at the end, how she was like, she made comedy of his plight. So, at the end of the day.
And they had the nerve to name the song Boyfriend.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's kind of disrespectful to me, man.
I don't think it's disrespectful. I think she put him in his place.
So what you're saying is, in his next relationship, because I don't think they're together no more. You don't think he gonna be sending out no more tweets like that, putting the business out there?
If he not the breadwinner, he should be quiet.
He should have had the meal on the table hot ready when she got home.
You know, we live in a new era of partnerships, and you know, women are liberated and have, you know, they've advanced. And for those that have not been able to keep up with them, and you get in those relationships, you should understand your role. However, and if you signed up for it, you know what there's nothing wrong with it if that's what you signed up for. Understand your role. Stay in your lane. I can't stress enough. You know, if you sign up for something like that, and you know, and maybe in her situation, she might have had some troubles trying to find someone on her financial level, because she's, from what I can see, that she's more of a alpha female. So she might have had some conflict, or she couldn't make it work with alpha males, those that are in her same income range. And I don't want to speak for her, but you know, the question would become, well, if you didn't want him to be vocal, why didn't you address him when you put the outfit on? It's your body, it's your outfit, it's your world, it's your money, it's your house. What you decide to put on, you should just be quiet.
Y'all heard the man, stay in your lane.
Yeah, ain't nothing wrong. I mean, if that's what you signed up for, like, how can you sign up for something and then all of a sudden you got issues with it? And you got issues with it. You knew what it was, and be quiet in the house. I'm kind of on the Kiki train with that.
Hey, man, but the man was hurt. You know how sometimes, I mean, he probably normally wouldn't have did that, man, but he obviously, something touched a nerve, man. He got in his feelings, man, and he just, you know, sometimes when you get emotional, you get in your feelings, you do things that you normally wouldn't do. So he just was like, you know what, man, I'm going to send this message out real quick, man.
He should have thought about it. Or she should have checked him before she went out. I mean, she had to have let's be honest. How did she get out of the house without him seeing her get ready? She looked good, so it must have took her a while to get it all together.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't no fast process. So,
right. So it probably took her an hour and a half to get ready, and then he probably watched her go out the door. It wasn't like he wasn't home. Somebody had to be with the baby.
Hey, man, like Herm Edwards used to say, don't press in.
But but people are acting like she was grinding all on Usher and he was touching all on her. It was just, she was, oh yeah, boom, Usher, boom, it's Usher. You know, it's like, come on, get with it.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't grinding up on her, man, but she was giving a little bit more action than most women would do when they're in a relationship but they got a man.
But what kind of man does she have?
All right, I got you.
So, is he the kind of man that should be talking or should have that kind of opinion?
Let me ask you this. If he would have been at the concert, like let's say they would have been sitting side by side. You know, there's been cases where it'd be couples there and Usher still walk up to the female, and of course he kind of look at the dude, and the dude would kind of give him like the, yeah, okay, it's cool. And he'd do a little thing with the female, but it's different. If the dude would have been there, do you think she still would have did what she did, or do you think she kind of would have been more reserved with it?
No, she would have did what she done. She already...
With him sitting right there?
She paid the bills.
Man, I get that, man, but it's different when the person's sitting right there, man. That's like, really?
Hey.
You just sit down and shut up?
Hey, you signed up for it. You know,
come on, man.
Why would you be in your feelings? I mean, ultimately, it's her world. It's not like she's a celebrity. So this ain't the first time she's ever met Usher, more than likely.
Yeah, that's true.
So, And she has enough money to, if she's that much of an Usher fan, she's probably already been to a show before. And they probably have seen each other in passing at award shows. So you don't know the context. So it might have been something totally harmless. She already dressed like that. It was just happens to be that Usher, it was an Usher show. But she has a history of dressing like that. And you knew that before you signed up. So why are you even flexing? Sit down. And if you couldn't handle her celebrity, you should have married, you should have got with a plain Jane. So that you could be vocal.
He should have found somebody on his level.
Absolutely. Because obviously she was out of his league and she showed him what league she was in.
All right, so I wanted to ask you this. I don't know if you actually heard about this. So Ebro just recently said that he got like some inside sources with record labels or whatever, but he basically said the record labels are signing less rappers and they're signing more Afrobeat type artists and Latin music artists. What are your thoughts about that?
Those festivals make more money. That music makes more money. That music gets more views. That music makes more revenue. I know a lot of people say, well, hip hop runs the world. I get that. But what they've done on that side of the house is incorporated your love for hip hop, my love for hip hop, and then they've recrafted it, repackaged it, and now it's a global thing. So, you know, that market is always done well. Matter of fact, those producers have to come into the R&B and hip hop space, and they're sought after to get bigger hits for those R&B and hip hop artists. I say it all the time. You know, when it comes down to it, who are they going to call? Lil Tay-Tay or Diplo or Skrillex? When they need something that's going to smash across all spectrums, that's who they're going to go get. Or Martin Garrix or a Calvin Harris.
S.J. Lewis.
S.J. Lewis. They're going to go get those guys to get them what they need. Bottom line. So I would think for a lot of artists, and shout out to the Afrobeat artists who have broken through and shown that they are to be respected and that it's not a game and they're here to stay.
So he went on after he made that comment. He basically, and I guess this was just him kind of like putting something out to the rappers in so many words. He basically was saying, hey, a lot of y'all stuff starting to sound the same. Maybe y'all need to start changing it up a little bit. The content and what you're talking about, people kind of getting tired of hearing the same old stuff. Maybe this is a challenge to y'all to like come up with something new or switch it up.
I think what I see now is the migration of a lot the smarter artists kind of getting with and migrating their sound with Afrobeat, EDM, reggaeton artists. You know, you'll see, you know, combinations that you normally wouldn't see. Someone like Ice Spice with Pink Panthers, you know, and that UK drum and bass house sound mixed with Ice Spice drill sound and kind of making a new sound. I think it's dope. I think a lot of more artists should get on that. But lo and behold, you still have artists like Travis, Kendrick, who have already been doing records in that special. You know, that's my lane anyway. So I hear those records. You'll hear a Young Thug and Dua Lipa. You know, you'll hear those records, Kendrick and this person, or Skrillex and a UK rapper with this person. So or S.J. Lewis with Ty Dolla $ign. You know, you'll get those records. Lucky Day with S.J. Lewis. You'll get those kind of records that are a perfect blend of both worlds. And I think more artists need to go and start exploring that and, you know, not always sticking to the trap 808s. And I understand, you know, I have discussions all the time with people about that. And, you know, the younger generation, they like 808s and hi-hats. But with anything, you have to progress. You know, it's easy just to throw something, slap something together. You know, Fruity Loops is out there. It's easy, but you kind of got to put a little bit more thought into it. And studying the sonic, that's a whole nother session.
Yeah, but that's why I wanted to ask you this question, because I know you big into the EDM and you know, pop and all that stuff. So I figured this would be right up your alley.
Oh yeah, we could talk about this all night. Like I'm good with that. But and like I said, I see as I look at and study. I spend a lot of time studying when I'm exercising. I'm actually listening to those sonics, and you know, from the Afro beats, now they're blending into the reggaeton, and the sound is starting to melt into one sound, versus all these different sectors of that sound. And like EDM is like the breeding ground for pop. Like it's the underground for pop music. Like you go on the EDM side and you get into clubs, and it's the underside of it. And then once it starts to bubble up in the clubs, then it's presented to the top 40, and then it shoots out. Right. So you'll get Martin Garrix's record, and they'll test it in the clubs. And then once that does well, it'll get deployed to top 40. Tiesto, same way. You know, those big records like, you know, The Business, like that, Tiesto and Ty Dolla $ign, like that was a big record. You know, and more artists need to kind of think along those lines and start exploring other options and not being closed-minded. I told you, 15 years ago, that this is where we're going to be at. And you remember, people looked at me and were like, you're crazy. It ain't going to never happen. And the exact thing that I said was going to happen is happening and has happened. And that is where younger artists got to look at that and go, okay, how many trap artists are there? Right? So, and you can dismiss this global community that they do shows. They just do these festivals, the festival circuit, and they don't have to drop anything.
Yeah,
and
they good.
You know, and it's only 20 or 30 of their producers versus how many producers are on the R&B and hip hop side. It's never ending, right? So you got to kind of look at that and go, okay, well, this market over here is not this highway, there's no traffic jam, right? Everybody's cruising 80 miles an hour. And matter of fact, they're more receptive to new plays on their sound. So they're always more receptive. So it's like, okay, cool. But some people get so stuck into one particular sound, one particular 130, 140 trap sound that they don't know how to come down to 128, 115, 108 BPMs and kind of get with the flow.
Now, let me give a sound effect to all the Afrobeat artists and the Latin artists out there. But,
you know it.
But before we get out of here, I had to ask you this. This might take us a couple of minutes to really dive in and unpack this one. But so we just recently celebrated the 50th anniversary of hip hop. So with that being said, how do you feel about the current state of hip hop?
Wow. So I think that the progression to where we are business-wise is awesome. That more and more younger people are understanding that they need to have that equity. I love the younger generation for that. And I know a lot of people beat up on them about creativity and doing other things, but I think if they would look at it, like I love what Killer Mike said, you got to look at this like a business. And if you look at it from the label's perspective, if you already know that they're going to keep you on the chitlin circuit, and then once you start to look like you could go to a global, spectrum, that they're going to put you with a Diplo or a Skrillex or a Martin Garrix or a Tiesto if you can get for them to even have that faith. So why not look at it from a business standpoint and say, hey, maybe let me find a producer that can get me that sound and then bubble up that way versus trying to beat down the chitlin circuit. That's how I would look at it.
I mean, rap came a long way. I mean, it started with the hip, the hop, the hippie to the hippie, the hip. And then, in the 90s, you had the hardcore gangster rap, East Coast, West Coast, the whole height of the beef thing. And now it's then went from all of that to trap.
But we also got to understand that as we progress from one era to the next, there was always that pushback. What did the 90s look at? How did the 90s look at the 80s, right? There was more reverence and respect to a degree, but there was still that, hey, this is all right, Melly Mel, your time's up, Dougie Fresh. It's Shook Ones, Wu-Tang, this is where we are. And then, that other generation was like, oh no, it's gone to the toilet. But in actuality, the art form just morphed into, hip hop is a voice of the streets. So if you're not part of the streets, you might not understand, or if you're not in touch with the streets and what the streets is saying, then, like right now with drill, that's a very popular form. So you have to understand it. You have to respect it. And that's just how they feel it. You can't tell them to not feel the way they feel it. They're going to go make the music the way they feel it anyway. And if you're not on rhythm, not on cadence, and not feeling it, that's just your prerogative. Go get you some Melly Mel. Go listen to Melly Mel. Go listen to Big Daddy Kane.
My Adidas.
Go listen to whatever rocks your boat. It's out there. But hip-hop will continue to progress. But if we don't have that equity and ownership, it's going to morph into something that we may not want.
So let me ask you this, what you just talking, it just actually reminded me of something. And just be honest with me. Did you ever really think that it would have lasted this long? 50 years?
I'm going to go back to that movie, when Sanaa Lathan, when Tay Diggs would ask, when did you fall in love with hip hop? Right? And understanding it's like a drug, and you have to feed it. It's an addiction. And, and for every person that fell in love with hip hop, you fell in love with your era. And then as time went on, you respect, if you have that open mind, you can respect what's coming new, what's coming about now, and go, okay, well, this is cool, but it might not be for me, but I respect it. I want to see them win. These young people are winning more than Melly Mel and Big Daddy Kane and them ever did, right? Big Daddy Kane will never have that Travis Scott level of, in opportunities. It's going to be, because that's the way this new generation is rocking. They are not going to stand, and that's what I love about this generation. They're not going to stand for, well, you just going to be, we're going to take everything you got and you're not going to get what's just due. This younger generation is not going to put up with it. They're going to go, okay, cool. That's what you think. But I'm going to get on IG and I'm going to rock out and I'm going to build my audience. And once I get that, start making them, getting that show money, it's all good. You ain't got to worry about me. I go get 40, 50, 60, 100 racks a month. All right, keep your record deal.
So those are the big topics I just kind of want to discuss with you. But I know, again, we late to the party, but is there anything else that's happened since the last time I really got to sit down and talk to you that you wanted to get off your chest while we're here? It's been a lot.
I think fashion with, my podcast, I like to focus on fashion and art. But I do think that the migration of Pharrell to Louis was something that happened since I last poked my head out in the world. And understanding that it's just a different era. Two different people, two different ideals, two different concepts, right? So I know that there's been some artists going back and forth and we off the Louis train or whatever. But ultimately, it's just two different perspectives. Whereas, Virgil was art-based. Not to say that Pharrell wasn't, but Pharrell and Nigo had a different flavor, and it's just a different flavor, ultimately. So, some people may like it, some people may not like it. But at the end of the day, I think fashion is at a turning point as well, just like music. I think that, are we at the last stages of that postmodern movement with art driving the majority of what's being put out? Like I go and I spin the block and I look at these companies and, it's like everybody's looking for that new inspiration. What I loved about Virgil was that he was able to always deconstruct, reconstruct, and give you something fresh. And I think we need that again. We definitely need that.
Well, I will say, in case y'all didn't know, baggy jeans are back. They coming back, or they already back, whichever one. I'm starting to see.
So the yeast infection era is over?
Hey, man, the super tight jeans, I think it's about to be over for that, man. I think we about to be back into the 90s with the big baggy jeans, man.
Yeah, I've seen that, and, and as I've studied the seasons, like this season is long coats, workwear, camo, chocolates. I look at all of as I get ready to start doing bespoke garments and, micro drops. I kind of look at how I want to play the game. And, me, I'll slow drip you to death and very, very limited on supply. And then I may just make one-on-ones this season. It's a recession out here.
Hey, if you don't hurry up and be the first person to get it, you won't get it. So I'm just telling you now, you better get it while the get's good.
Yeah. Because when it's gone, it is definitely gone.
Well, I appreciate you taking time to come on the podcast today. Again, like I said, I've been holding these topics for a while because I just really wanted to get your opinion on them. It's always good to be able to do a podcast with your co-host, but hey, if I'm not doing an in-person, face-to-face interview with an independent artist, if I can't do it with this guy, then I have no choice but to do it by myself. But no matter what happens, the show must go on. But
absolutely.
If you don't have nothing else, if ain't nothing else that's burning your soul, man, then I'm going to go ahead and say, let's get out of here.
All right. No doubt.
All right. Y'all be safe.